Troy Schrenk with Target Hospitality.
Excellent. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that. I wanted to follow up on a press release I received recently on a 100-room expansion at El Capitan community. Talk to us a little bit more about that, and thanks for joining the program here today, sir.
You bet. Jason, good to be back. Thanks for having me. We announced an expansion of our El Capitan employer accommodations community out in the heart of the Delaware Basin, which sits in the prolific Permian, as everyone is aware. We initially came out and announced the 200-bed construction of this community back in 2019 for a large integrated producer that has made a substantial investment in the Permian Basin. As we have done for the past decade, every time we put a new greenfield community in the ground, we have doubled the size of that community in less than 3 years. And in this case, we're super proud to announce that we've doubled the size of the community in less than about 10 months, which I think is a pretty good indication of, obviously a very good indication of the growth in the Permian Basin and the investment being made by very large integrated producers in the area. So we're excited about having that customer, being able to support their production efforts in the Great Permian.
And I'm sorry if I missed it, but what city in Texas was this again?
So this is right in the heart of the Delaware Basin, up on the state line, and it doesn't take too long to figure out where that might be. But there's a little town up there called Orla, Texas.
Okay,
and,
Orla.
Orla is an area that has seen a lot of investment over the past several years. If you went back there in 2012, 2011. You would find probably one building, and it was a registered ghost town on the Texas State Registry. Today, it happens to be at the epicenter of some major oil development.
So if we wouldn't mind, before I ask you about some of the other projects, I know you got an appointment coming up here, but I do like to take a moment to remind the listeners kind of some of the benefits that you bring a community. Not only do you bring, a benefit to the industry, but there is benefits to the community with the type of services that you provide. And I saw it firsthand in the Bakken, right in my backyard, the type of advantages that like a Target Hospitality can bring. But it's a two-part question. First off, I imagine that this Orla community facilities, like many of your other ones with the zero tolerance, the indoor-outdoor facilities, you got the chefs on hand. Talk about that a little bit, and then transition into the benefits that communities really see with this type of housing and this type of community that you bring.
Sure. Look, as we think about it from the customer's point of view, and again, a reminder, the customer being large energy employers, there's a job that has to be done. And the job to be done is to get their human capital, which they've invested millions of dollars in onboarding and training, frankly, to their work locations faster, safer, cheaper, and much more efficient. And as a result of being able to deliver on that promise for the energy employer, we are driving a better worker who's spending less time in a vehicle on a commute side. As a result, they'll have much more energy. They've been able to manage their fatigue, reduce incidents that can occur on these very dangerous roads and extended travel time. And they're much more productive employees. They're optimized for work. So if we can get their employees to work locations on the rig site, on the frac spread, on the project that they're working on, whether it's a right-of-way for a pipeline, if we can do it faster, cheaper, and safer, we have delivered on our part of the job and helped them deliver on their part. Look, part of that is what we do in our communities, and you mentioned it, Jason. It all starts at our community, where we do have a zero tolerance policy, and that's not just Target's policy. That's our energy customers' partnership with us where there is no alcohol, which would be counterproductive to productivity and safety on the job site. There is no drugs and firearms allowed on location at any of our communities. We are seen as an extension of their safety culture. Safety is not just 12 hours; it's a 24-hour commitment with us and our partners on the employer side. So, look, that is part of the value proposition. At the end of the day, that's again part of the job to be done here is optimizing their employee. And a better worker is a more productive worker, a more loyal employee, and that drives profits to their bottom line. Make no mistake about it. Look, I think the one thing that can't go without being said is the impact on the community. And I mean the communities that we have the privilege of operating in as a good steward, whether it's in the Bakken and Williston and Watford and Dickinson, or if it's all the way down to West Texas or Southeast New Mexico. We've been able to alleviate a lot of pressure in these markets where you have infrastructure pressure, where there's much impact and pressure on the roads, very dangerous roads, a lot of truck traffic, lots of intensity. We have a lot of variables at play. The fact that we've been able to build a network of 20 locations in the Permian Basin to get the employees off the road, get them off the road much quicker, get them off the road faster, get them off the road more safely. They're spending less time on those roads, which is good for everybody in the community. Highway 285 is one of the most dangerous roads in all of the United States. It has too many fatalities, and we've built several thousand rooms along Highway 285 to ensure that we can get that employee off of that very dangerous road. But there's other obviously benefits to the community. One of which is, we are relieving pressure on the supply side for housing. One of the major problems that West Texas is having right now is affordable housing for first responders, for public servants that work in fire and police and ambulance and medical services and teachers and educators. And rather than having oil field energy employees absorb all of that housing stock, that employee is staying with us, right? So the energy employee stays with us. It frees up supply in the community for those first responders, public servants, and it's been a much welcome supply for those communities that we operate in today.
Well, like I said, I saw it firsthand where it really became a great tool for civic leaders to really balance that issue of overbuilding, because in an industry that's historically had boom bust cycles, that's a real thing. And this is one of those services that I was just absolutely amazed to see firsthand with my own eyes. Transitioning a little bit, Kermit, Texas, you guys still down there? And what other places have you got some beds now?
Sure. So as I mentioned, we have 20 unique locations across the Permian. And Jason, I think you know this, but for your listeners, the Permian is the size of the United Kingdom. I think plus or minus about 87,000 square miles. Massive geographical area. And it's important from our business perspective to support our customers, to make sure that we've strategically built in locations that can certainly support our customers, and again, get the job done, right? Faster, cheaper, safer to work locations, and that's exactly what we've done. Kermit definitely is one of those locations. I think we have plus or minus about 500 rooms in the Kermit market, and it's an area that we're able to support our customers from. Again, we have 19 other locations across the Permian outside of even Kermit, from the Midland Basin, where we hold probably 3,000 to 4,000 rooms between Midland, Odessa, all the way through the Delaware Basin with the balance of our rooms. So, Jason, today, as you know, we've seen rapid growth over the last several years. I think we're pushing 9,000 rooms in the Permian Basin today. And look, we continue to assess areas of what we call white space, where we can better support and help our customers. But with 20 locations, we've pretty much got it covered at this point.
Any final thoughts as we wrap up? I know you got another meeting coming up. Appreciate the time today. So, any final thoughts? What to look forward to with what you guys have coming down the pipe, or anything that we missed that you want to make sure we get or reiterate, etc. Maybe a chili recipe. I don't know.
No, that's good. Hey, look, as we think about the business, look, we're fortunate and privileged to be doing business in two great basins in the United States. We're privileged to be part of something, I think, on a bigger picture, to be a part of U.S. energy independence. We're an integral part of that. We're going to continue to be an integral part of that. And at the end of the day, make sure that we have delivered on our promise for our customers, energy employers, and their employees. And I think we can do that. But just a couple of really kind of fun announcements. One of the things that, I think oftentimes we get carried away talking about how many facilities and communities we have and how many rooms. And look, what I'm most proud of is we have almost 700 great employees in the Permian Basin today that deliver on our promise, to deliver the great service quality to our guests every single day. They live with our customers 24/7, and that is just something we're super proud of. They get the ability to deliver some great food, not good food. You're working 12 or 14-hour days in 104-degree heat, and you're covered in PP&E and FR. What you're looking forward to is not good food. You're looking forward to great food. So, the opportunity for our great people to make fresh, grilled steaks every night, grilled chicken, grilled fish, pastas. We've opened up this new concept. I don't know if I've shared it with you, Jason. It's a sports bar and grill without the alcohol, of course. It's called the Frack Shack. We've started to open these up over the last several years. We're opening up our seventh one here, coming up here in 2020, and they're all on location. The customer gets to go have food 24/7. If they want to go over to the Frack Shack, they can have a handmade burger. Custom-made burger with hand-cut French fries. We've got wood-fired pizza ovens. It's like a sports bar that anyone would be proud to go into with absolutely great food. And I think it's that care and concern and emphasis on our guests that frankly have every energy company just clamoring to do to help us, to have them help us, or have us help them rather. And so, those are the fun things, right? It's all about the food. It's all about our guests. And Jason, you have a standing invitation to come down to the Permian and try one of those homemade burgers anytime.
Well, might take you up on it too. And one last thought I do want to mention is that when I was up visiting some of the facilities up in the Bakken back 5 years ago now, and kind of talking to some of those guys, afterwards, and 3-4 years later, the one thing that they talked about, that it was that brotherhood, that sense of brotherhood, which nowadays I don't know what the PC term is. I guess manhood, humanhood, whatever the term is, but it's when you can really get together a good work-life balance. And that's what's really impressed me about what you guys have done, is figured out a way that you can actually leave your stress at work at the end of the day. And like you said, go into a sports bar without alcohol and actually kick back and have fun and release some of that stress. Because sometimes when you go home and you got laundry waiting for you, and you got the lawn waiting for you, and you got a couple kids you got to bring, and you got this and that, there's that extra stress that the home life, that you don't get the right balance. And that's what I don't know. I've had a few conversations about that with some people that stayed in your facilities up in the Bakken, and I wanted to pass that along, that it's really interesting to see the way that you guys have strived for a true, work life, release at the end of the day, balance type of a thing. Is that intentional, or did you guys just stumble into that?
That's 100% intentional. And, here's why it's 100% intentional. You can call it whatever you want: brotherhood, fraternity. By nature, in energy, as you know, it's the backbone of the energy and what's called the oil patch, right? There's an understanding. I like to call it empathy. You can call it whatever you want, but I like to call it empathy. And the way we have structured this, meaning all of our employees are also rotational workers or rotational employees. They're coming from outside of the area, much like many of these energy employees and workers. And so our folks are working rotations very similar to a frac hand. They're there for 2 or 3, 4 weeks at a time, and then they get to travel back to their home state. And so there's a degree of empathy immediately that's developed between our employee and the guest. There's an understanding of what they're going through, working long days, 12, 14, 16-hour days for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks at a time, right? Working that rotation schedule. And so that develops the quote unquote, as you say, the brotherhood. In our business, we say empathy, guest empathy, customer empathy, and to understand that, look, they're going through isolationism, being away from their family and friends. They're going through periods of morale, lower morale because they miss them, or they can't connect with them, they can't see them. And so that friendship and that empathy is developed over time, and I think that's what makes the customer so sticky. That's what makes, this culture of brotherhood and fraternal, friendships last. And I think, by deliberation, deliberately, we've set up the hospitality program that way.
Troy Schrenk, Target Hospitality, thank you much.
Jason, thanks again.